Good evening and welcome to the first round of the Aquiver eSports Championship. Thank you very much for joining us on this Monday evening. We have Hugh Cox on screen at the moment as he heads out for the start of qualifying for the LMP category. Alongside me this evening we have Mr. Andrew Gatton. And we also have Mr. Isaac Barkley on cameras. So, good evening, gentlemen. How are we?
Good evening. How are we getting on, guys? I'm having a really good day. Let's hope for some awesome driving.
Absolutely. So, as we see, UK Cox running on his outlap at the moment here at the wonderful Spa-Francorchamps in the Dallara P217. So he has the pink-sided livery for today in the Aquiver Motorsports car.
Got to say, their liveries are absolutely stunning. You don't see many liveries with that much attention to detail, and when you do see them, it is just fantastic, and they really have gone all out.
Yeah, absolutely, and Theo Stroder there on screen is another Aquiver Motorsports driver in the number 13 car. We've previously commentated on Theo last week at Le Mans in an ESS race. He did all right there. Right. So
both Theo and Marcus took part in last week's Le Mans Sprint Series, if you remember, and Marcus actually won his class. So we've definitely got a good field up for grabs here at Spa.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a very good race as we're going to ride on board with Hugh Haycox for his first flying lap, braking into La Source. Apex speed of just below 70 kilometers an hour there as he accelerates down the hill past the old pits and the endurance pits as they're now named. Past the old start-finish line and lining up for Eau Rouge. Sounds like he's flat through there and a bit of curve at the top of Radion as he powers up the Camel Straight. Bit of curve there underneath the bridge. Brilliant crowd in this evening. Braking hard for the chicane at the top of the hill at Le Com. Nicely done. Bit of curve all the way around. Oop, slight lift there. Gets the car straight at Malmedy. Now downhill, tricky braking area into Bruxelles. The right, long right-hander, constant radius and always falling away. Slightly quicker through No Name, using a fair amount of the AstroTurf and curb on exit as he heads down to Pouon. We're really hoping to use the high downforce of the Dallara P217 this evening. Round there, brilliantly done, nice and easy on exit. Down a couple more gears for Lefania. Left then right then left, sorry. Bit of curve on exit, shouldn't be an off track there. Plenty of speed through Campus as well. Now going round Stavelo, keeping it easy flat round there and powering, believe it or not, a little bit uphill now, back towards Blanchimont. Gibson V8 working very hard behind him. Easy flat through Blanchimont and then spotting his braking point again for the bus stop, hard braking down to probably first gear, sorry, and a bit of sausage curve on the inside there with the second part of that, and then across the line. Let's see what lap time he does. So he naturally goes top of the timing sheets as the first person to set a lap time as a 2:02.262. As he then pulls over to reset back to the pits to set another lap time, to go out and set another lap. It's quite close
Now
at the top.
on board.
Sorry, Andrew, you carry on.
Now on board with Marcus Soholm. Just a quick update on him. He is just doing his flying lap now. He last week was actually the winner of the LMP2 class at the Le Mans Sprint Series, so he definitely has a handle for the LMP2 Dallara. So it'll be interesting to see where he sits in the standings today, especially after this flying lap.
Yeah, and Marcus is our highest I-rating LMP2 driver today, sitting at a little over 6,000. Hugh Haycox, who we did that onboard lap with, is sitting at a measly 5.4k. So some strong people at the top of the, some strong drivers at the top of the field today, that's for sure. as he now accelerates out the bus stop and across the line to set his first flying lap time. And he goes 4th with a 2:04.6, so currently 2.4 seconds off our leader of Life Vichel, and a 2:02.256. So Marcus will be hoping for more in his coming runs. So just to quickly run you through the qualifying format for the Aquiver eSports Championship. The LMP2 field has a 15-minute session. Then there will be a 5-minute break to allow them to change drivers. To swap over their categories, and then the GT cars will go out for their 15 minutes. And in GT we have a GT3 Pro category and a GT3 AM category. The cutoff between the two is about 2,000 I rating, so yeah, a good cutoff I think for a weekly league. Absolutely, as Richard Wartners comes round Stavelo and heading towards Blanchemont in his McLaren Mercedes throwback livery. Looking very smart there with the chrome on board. Braking hard into the bus stop, using quite a bit of curb on the inside, and again there on the second half of the bus stop and across the line he will come to set his first flying lap, and he goes 4th. So a man of 1600 I rating is outpacing 6000 I rating of Marcus Solholm. There's a slight lock up there on the right rear into La Source, and I think he'll be resetting back to the pits to go out again soon. As we now switch to Solholm, he will be about to start another lap, I believe. I think he's just on his out lap at the moment. This might even be a flyer. Let's see what the time is as he comes across the line. So he has improved there. That was not an outlap, I stand corrected. So he's done 2:03.829. I don't think he'll be overly happy with that. Still sitting in P5 as the highest I rating driver on the grid this evening. So this being the first round, we do have a slightly smaller than desired grid in LMP2. The organisers of Aquiver have dedicated 15 spots to the LMP2 grid, to each of our classes actually, so we can get a full grid of 45 in total. So yeah, if you do want to get involved, there is a link to the Aquiver Motorsports Discord in the description of this video below, so if you like what you see, then feel free to get involved, and we'll see you in a week's time potentially.
So a little bit of interesting information there. So 4 out of the 7 LMP2 drivers are actually part of the Aquiver eSports Association. So they are looking to obviously branch out and get a few more drivers from different leagues as well. So we see more than half of them are part of Aquiver.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always good to see that, you know, the organisation that has gone into a new championship is supported by the drivers from within that team. You do occasionally see a bit of lack of support from people's own championships, but not the case here, which is fantastic to see.
Yes, definitely, Martin. I think as well as the fact that you can tell they just want to have fun, and they're so relaxed about everything as well. And after being in the Discord for a wee while, it makes me feel like I feel at home in there as well. All the drivers seem very helpful.
Yeah, and there's no reason why not, really. I suppose it's a fantastic, welcoming group of good iRacers, really. As we're looking at Theo Schroeder, he is currently sat in 3rd place, so he's got the 3 blue illuminated dots on the side of his number 13 Team Aquiver vehicle. Currently sat on a 2:03.04, so he'll be looking to break the 2-minute 3 barrier today and catch up with Hugh Haycox at the top, who's now done a 2:01.95. Life Vichel has been displaced at the top as 2:02.26 as Theo Schroeder comes across the line as a 2:82.82, so that's a fantastic improvement there. As we look at a replay of Hugh Haycox, he's just getting out the way of a fellow competitor, which is very sportsmanlike. As Weichel comes towards the bus stop, let's see if he can knock a quarter of a second off or more. He needs 3/10 at the moment to displace Hugh Haycox at the front of the field. Sorry, I think he's just starting his first flying lap there.
I think it's worth noting today that of the 7 LMP2s that we have entered into the championship, only 5 have shown up today, being the 5 that you can see on the timing tower at the moment. And out of those 5, 4 of them are Aquiver Motorsports drivers. Richard Warden is the only one who isn't one of the Aquiver Motorsports drivers, instead racing for Full Commitment Racing. So pretty much an entirely Aquiver Motorsports LMP2 championship that we've been running, although we have got a bigger number of teams in the other categories.
Definitely. I'm going to have to correct myself. There's actually 6 LMP2s that are in the group at this moment. I was reading that one wrong. I actually read one of them as being a GT Pro driver. But there is still 4 out of the 6 P2 cars that are Aquiver.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how Richard Partners can upset the establishment, as it were. They'll be good to see. Zweichel's now coming round Campus Corner through Stavelot, climbing again. I think this part of the circuit, people don't quite realise the amount of elevation change, because they all look at Eau Rouge and then the drop through Bruxelles and Pouhon, and they don't quite see it. But actually, Stavelot is the lowest part of the circuit, so and then it is a relatively long and arduous climb, just like the Kemmel Straight, back to the Grand Prix pits. Richard Wagner's now on a flying lap as he comes through Piff Paff. Through the right, nicely done there. Maybe missing the apex a bit on the left there, running a little bit wide.
Well kept though, he kept his foot in.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's the key in qualifying without getting an off track. Spa is a little bit notorious on the iRacing platform for off tracks, so yeah, it's a bit temperamental, I think, and what you see on TV of real life drivers getting away with compared to what you get away with on iRacing is a little bit of a disparity there. But the good thing about iRacing is that it is the same for everybody, and there is no human judgment involved or even potential bias. So that's the good side of the system, I suppose. Well, even though if it is a bit frustrating at times.
In talking there, I don't think he's improved on his time just then. I think that off-track moment down off at Pouhon kind of ruined his lap time, which is a bit unfortunate for him because he did look like he was going very well before that.
Yeah, he did a 2:03.68 on his last lap, and his previous best was, well, his best is a 2:03.67, so incredibly consistent there. Nonetheless, and that's looking good for the race for him in terms of consistency. Let's see if he can do those laps throughout the race, then he should stay right in it if he stays out of trouble as well. So Hugh Haycox is now on an out lap. Our LMP2 pole sitter is not happy. Clearly wants to do a few more laps.
Well, he's not good.
I was just about to say, Isaac, you are correct. He's not going to get another lap because 15 minutes, as you see on your screen, is up. So maybe just an out lap just to test the cold tyre performance of maybe his race setup. Just a bit of preparation for the race, maybe a little bit of a sort of a practice start, I suppose. So now Hugh will expect to return to the pit lane, and there'll be a short break where the GT cars will all get ready, And then at 20 minutes into the qualifying session, the GT cars, the GT3 Pro and GT AM cars, will head onto this track.
It's going to be a good race, it seems. Looking at the weather there, doesn't look like it's going to necessarily rain, but it is quite humid. So we might see a bit of a change in the track throughout the day. But in all fairness, 14-kilometer-hour wind on a track like this is not bad, considering it does have its ups and downs. And we haven't got too much sun, so the track shouldn't be getting too overheated here today at Spa.
Yeah, I'd say that these are absolutely perfect conditions for a race. I believe the in-sim date is about real-life date, so it's early March. So yeah, no, absolutely, it will be ideal. Some lovely slow-mo shots of Hugh Haycox going around the source. That's a fantastic camera angle. There are always some great photos there taken in the Spa 24 especially every year.
So just a little bit of fact. Oh, sorry, Martin, you carry on.
No, I was just going to do a quick rundown of our LMP2 grid at the moment as it stands. So we've got Hugh Haycox sitting at the top of the charts with a 201.95. Live Feichel is a little bit behind him. The 202.26. Then another half second back, Theo Schroeder, a 202.72. Richard Wagner's our cat amongst the pigeons, as it were, of the Aquiver team, of the Aquiver Championship, as a 203.67. And then Marcus Solholm, our highest I rating driver, will be hoping to do a little bit better than 203.83 in the race. As it now looks like our GT cars are out on track, Adam J. Pearce is leading the charge. So, as these guys are heading out onto their first outlap, then just give you a quick rundown of how, or a little bit more information as to what the GT category is all about. So, these are all GT3 cars. As we see another Cabot car there in the background, a Lamborghini, the number 271. That is Jonathan Keane, who's taken a bit of a spill at Le Com. As here we go in super slow motion. Breaks into Le Com, turns in. Remember that his tyres are currently quite cold. Everything looks alright so far. Maybe a bit of... he's lost it. Too much speed on the way in, and that's why cold tyres will absolutely bite in exactly that situation. But as you can see also, iRacing have updated their particle effects recently, so the smoke is much thicker and the dust is much dustier, as it were, as well. As we know, go back to Adam J. Pearce in his bright yellow Audi. It's had good turnout from the Cabot Motorsport team and a variety of cars. Sorry, so just to finish my point on the numbers, so LMP2 is running numbers 2 to 99. GT3 Pro, as John Derrick takes a very long off track, reminiscent of the Spa 24 qualifying last year, as he starts his lap. So GT3 Pro is running numbers 100 to 200, and then GT3 AM is running 200 to 300. So as you see, John Derrick there in the 114 car is one of our Pro entries. Don't think the downforce is... Oh, that's quite a cut there. I hope it hasn't caused him to get a slowdown on his first flying lap. Not as many laps will be available to the GT category as the LMP2 category, because purely due to the amount of time it takes to do their allocated laps in the time. But he is carrying on, so it appears that he hasn't got a slowdown or anything, so that's good news. Brilliant flames there out the back of the McLaren.
Quite interesting to see. Oh, sorry. You carry on.
It's the only McLaren that we've got racing today in the series. We've got a selection of other cars, including we've got one other Ferrari entered in the series, 4 BMWs out on track today, 4 Audis and 4 Lamborghinis, making up a grand total of 13 cars that we'll see out today, which hopefully should bring some good racing.
And actually touching on that point, I was just about to say there that you don't really see the McLaren MP12C anymore as such in these kind of championships, because it is becoming more of an out of date car in comparison to your newer GT3s like the Huracan GT3 and the 488. But definitely a very good car to look at, and it's, you know, McLaren made a very good job of it.
Yeah, absolutely, and iRacing do manage to keep these cars in date a little bit, because it is a balanced performance category, and that does lend itself. I mean, every car does have its strengths and weaknesses. So I remember running the Mercedes at Bathurst this year, just because it was nice and stable for me over the top. Unfortunately, I don't think we have any Mercedes here today, but I believe I did see one on the entry list, so hopefully they'll turn up for the next round. Always good to see variety on the grid. So we now ride on board with Hendrik Lichtenhagen as he heads down towards Eau Rouge. Reading the 10 there soundtrack in the background.
We're actually seeing the first times from both the Pro and the AM categories. As you see, I do believe the Pro category is in the magenta and the cyan is the amateur category, if I'm right.
That is correct, Andrew. Yeah. And that is currently reflected on the timing screen with the Pro category ahead of the AM, as you hope. Whoop, as Daniel Webber's had a big moment at the top of Aradion. Stopped that on the, yeah, he would have got a big slowdown on the exit there. As we look at it, oh, he had a huge slide halfway up Eau Rouge, and that is exactly not where you want that. Oh, they must have been...
Daniel Webber...
yeah, you might need a change of underwear after that, I'm afraid.
Yeah, that would be a bit scary, especially going up at that speed. Yeah, I mean, if you want to hold that flat, that's, you know, one of the things you just got to have big boy pants for, especially if you hit the bump just slightly on the curb. Coming up onto radio on that one can be a very scary moment indeed. Daniel Webber actually took part in our last weekend's 6 hours of Motegi run by the ISRC, and he done reasonably well for the Cabort team. Both him and driver Adam Pierce took part for Cabort.
Yeah, it's good to see a few ISRC championship competitors, as Daniel goes for a big slide there at No Name on the exit. As we go look back at Jonathan Keynes, whose car seems to be bouncing a hell of a lot through No Name there, and then using probably a bit too much of the runoff there. I would have thought that might invalidate his lap time. But see how we go. Is John Derrick using a lot of the AstroTurf as well. So at the moment we've got Jelte Korsman is at the top of the GT3 Pro category. He's currently on an outlap with a 2:17.124. He's 0.2 of a second ahead of John Derrick in his McLaren. And Hendrik Lichtenhagen, who we rode on board with very briefly, is in third in his Lamborghini. So we've got 2 Lamborghinis and a McLaren at the top of our Pro category. And then Nick Carroll is the next GT car, and he's our first place pole sitter at the moment in GT3 AM. He has a goodly gap back to Jamie Daniels in second place in his BMW, and Silas Nicolaisen in third place in AM. So it seems that our top 3 GT cars are either in the 217 or 218 bracket, but then everybody else is very tightly from Nick Carroll backwards is 219.1, 219.1, Mateusz Dubchuk, and then a 219.28 and 219.29 and 219.3. So it's fantastic to see such close battling on the qualifying times at the moment, and that should come to some great racing over the next hour.
As you see, there's Yelte Korsman just about to go up into cross Radion, and it's going to be Eau Rouge to Radion there. Very nice using of the curbs. He's very lucky that he didn't catch too much of the curb and caught the underside of the car, as we see quite a lot of the GT drivers in real life will make that error, and it kind of does ruin the bottom of their car, and they can end up sliding off at the top of Radion.
Yeah, absolutely. Those curbs can unsettle them and the cars, and whilst they try and flatten them out, it's a delicate balance between penalising a driver for cutting the circuit and also firing them into the fence and potentially causing real harm to them. So Yelte Korsman on screen there is doing a fantastic job. His last lap was even quicker than his previous, so 2:17.12 is currently the benchmark in Pro. As Christopher Gottfredson didn't like his run through Eau Rouge. He's pulled over in the Sky Tempesta liveried Ferrari 488. As Isaac mentioned earlier, he is our only Ferrari, so it'd be interesting to see the balanced performance that he has managed to show today.
Actually, coming from an ACC background, it's quite interesting to see how little the Ferrari is actually run on iRacing compared to ACC. It's considered as just a god car on ACC for its stability and its overall speed, especially the Evo version that was released earlier on this year. It's a very, very nice car to use, and yeah, it's quite strange to see a lot of people not use it.
Yeah, well, every sim is a little bit different. I mean, I don't think Spa is the circuit to use the Ferrari. Generally, we see it on places like Monza, where there is a lot of high-speed corners or high-speed straights. It is really known for its power and lack of drag. So, obviously, as our drivers can choose one car at the start of the series, they're allowed one car change throughout the series. So maybe there's a few people using that. They're going to use that throughout the league as a tactical to their tactical advantage. But Gottfredson coming through Stavolo and heading towards Blanchimont, probably catching a little bit of the slipstream of the car ahead at the moment, which will be aiding him along nicely, but hopefully not too much aero wash that he's going to have to deal with, because these are aero dependent cars. Oh, he looks like a little bit out of shape there through Blanchimont, a little wiggle of the rear. GT3 cars obviously don't have the same level of downforce as our LMP2 category, so they will move a lot more on the brakes and under acceleration, as well as around the high-speed corners, and that Blanchimont is a critical place for high-speed stability.
I actually heard a statement recently. I think it was during the Daytona 24 that they're actually saying that the newer GT3 cars of today from the Blancpain Championship and stuff like that are equivalent downforce of what would be considered an F3 car. So still got quite a lot of downforce there, and obviously F3 cars don't have a lot of downforce, but definitely have a very good power to weight ratio. So definitely a nice thing to see that these cars have actually got a ton of downforce compared to their original shapes.
Yeah, the cars have developed a lot throughout the years, and I think the regulation writers have been doing a lot of hard work to try and keep up with them. As we're now concentrating on Juan Miguel Sanchez Milenas in his Audi R8. He is part of the IDAC club. Heading down towards this long shot down towards Eau Rouge, through Eau Rouge, or over Eau Rouge as it is the little river. The big slide over the top of Radion there.
Yeah.
He's holding on to that in his mid-engine V10 powered Audi R8. Brilliant livery though. I like the white and the orange. That looks really nice. Bit of chrome on there. Brilliant. Braking hard through into Le Combe. Setting up for Malmedy, not using all of the road on exit, on entrance, but using all of it on exit. So he heads down now to Bruxelles. Now this will be the painful part for all of our drivers. Waiting until they can get on the power again. Out of Bruxelles and through No Name. Neatly done through there. Down to Pouhon. So you might see the number 9 on the front of Melena's car there. He is 9th overall in GT. However, he is currently sitting 6th place in GT Pro and less than a 10th off Jonas Beckman in the
Big
Lamborghini
slide
head.
there in the background.
The pink Cabot car, was that Andrew?
I do not think it was actually a BMW, I'm assuming. So I wonder if Isaac could find that one. I'm not too sure if it was an off track or that. So, but he did take a big sideways. Yeah, it was the McLaren, is it?
That's John
No, it's
Derrick
not.
in the 114 McLaren, currently sitting 2nd in our GT field. As we go
I
back
don't think it
to-
was him. I do think it was an M3 though. I'm assuming
Yeah,
it
I
was
think
an
you are
M3, but
an
it's like-
M4, I believe it would be.
Yeah.
M4 GT3. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong way. I was just glancing away at my timing screen there, as we have just about less than 3 minutes left in GT qualifying. Juan Melenas not managing... Sorry, did manage to improve, but hasn't improved his position there. He is still the 10th behind Jonas Bachmann, but a very small improvement he's managed to make on that last lap. Hopefully he'll be able to push through the 2:19 barrier, and that would gain him 3 or 4 positions on the leaderboard. So that would be good to see. I think an interesting observation at the moment is we have 3 GT Pro drivers, and then we have 3 GT AM drivers, and one of those is Daniel Webber. Going through Le Combe in his bright pink Cabot livery car with the lime green wheels. Striking and fantastic, I'd say. And I believe that's the Stefan Beloff helmet livery that I may also run. So good to see he's got good taste, Mr. Weber. And this is our GT AM category pole sitter at the moment. Currently sitting nearly half a second ahead of Daniel Weber, who we were just looking at in the pink Audi.
I do actually believe that was a car that did go sideways. It was Jamie Daniels. He did take a little bit of sideways action from through Pith Path, I think it was. So it was nice to see he's back out again before that time runs out.
Yeah, I think he's carried on there, and that previous lap where you saw that big slide was his quickest, 2:18.47, so that's where he's managed to pull out a full half second over his competition in the Omega Racing BMW M4. I'll be honest, they've done a good job to hide, you could argue, the ugly grille on that, the big black stripe down the middle. It's not the prettiest car, not as pretty as Daniel Weber's Audi here. Simple but very clean design, but fast is beautiful, as they say.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
was it?
the BMW engineer who designed the M4 has recently come out yesterday after there's been a lot of controversy around the design of the car. He was addressing it and saying that although a car may look ugly, it's not about the looks, it's about the design and the efficiency. So he's not calling the car good looking, but he says it's all for it's all as a
form, is it, therefore?
Exactly, yes, exactly.
Understandable.
Actually, going back to that point about that Audi there, even though it is bright pink, I mean, when you're doing a long race, you definitely won't miss it in your mirrors. And I think that's what they're trying to go for is, I think it's a more strategical advantage as well as that. So you can't really miss them if they're coming for an overtake. So, yeah. I think it's very cool.
Yeah, and Cabot are known for having their... Oh, that's a huge slide! He gets out of Bruxelles, getting the power on early. These cars, believe it or not, do have traction control, but Daniel clearly not deciding to use it there as time has run out in qualifying. Everybody will be coming to the end of their laps. As Godfredson has lost it through Blanchimont. That's...
He did keep it. He did keep it on the track, though. I mean, he was about to go send it into the barrier, but very well done on that car control.
Yeah, no, that'll be the key if he does manage to. He does have to take avoiding action or loses the rear end through Blanchimont in the race. Then, yeah, he'll be hoping to keep it out of the barriers and hoping that everyone else also avoids him.
Oh, big wide again for John Derrick. He's had a few kind of off-track moments, not just at that corner, but at No Name as well. And that's Nick Carroll. He's obviously not improving on his time, so he's decided to go back to the pits. He's taking a big wide line again.
Yeah, I think he'll be getting an off-track for that. There's no way he'd get away with that. He'd just be John Derrick driving it back to the pit lane now and using a slightly different theme to the LMP2 category cars, but believe it or not, that is an Aquiver Motorsport car, we are told, as he comes into the pit lane. So all of our cars today will have a mandatory pit stop. The GT3 category would usually be allowed to go an hour in real life racing or longer events. However, today we have restricted the fuel to 75% of its normal tank capacity, so therefore only a 45-minute fuel stint we expect. And in LMP2 they're allowed their full fuel allocation. However, that will only get them 38 minutes, about 38 minutes of fuel time, so they'll also be pitting in. So we'll see our LMP2 field come in before our GT3s. So we look at this brilliant slow motion of John Derrick in the 114 McLaren going around La Source. We are now coming through to the grid. So we have Hugh Haycox on pole position with a 2:01.95. Alongside him, Leif Weichel with a 0.3 of a second back from him. Theo Schroeder starts off the inside of the second row for Aquiver Motorsports as well, just about 3/4 of a second behind Haycox at the head of the field. Richard Wanders, our interloper in the full commitment racing car, is 1.7 seconds off the pole time. And Marcus Solholm bringing up the back of our LMP2 grid. Would you like to run through the GT3
I can
Pro
run
category, please, Andrew?
So, as we see now, we have Yeltik Kurzman, who is going to be sitting as the pole position in the GT Pro category. Sitting next to him, we have John Derrick in the Aquiver Motorsports McLaren. And in the third position, we have Hendrik Lichtenhagen. And I do believe we've got a couple of the drivers in the AM category, but they'll be sitting farther back. Obviously, they're starting in their orders. Do I believe in that? Yes?
It'll be a mixed grid for GT, sorry.
Okay, so we'll just talk through here. We've got
don't worry.
Jamie Daniels in the Omega Racing car, the fastest in the AM category. Daniel Weber, in the Cabot car in beautiful bright pink Audi. In 11th, we have Jonas Beckman in the Aquiver Motorsports car. In 12th, we have Nick Carroll in another Aquiver Motorsports car. In 13th, we have Juan Milanes in the IDAC Club Audi, I do believe. Oh, and
nope, as it comes back.
In 14th, we have Matthias Debruck from Canada. And 15th, we have, I do believe that is Silas Nicholson. In 16th, we have Adam J. Pierce in the Cabot Lamborghini. In 17th, we have Jonathan Keane. Sorry, I got that wrong. Jonathan Keane's in the Lamborghini, am I right? And Adam Pierce, he's in a
Audi.
He's in the green Audi. Sorry about that. My apologies. We have also got Davy Van Abeel for VDA Racing. And then we have, rounding off the grid, Christopher Gottfredson in the Tempesta Racing Ferrari.
Thank you very much, Andrew. As we have gone green, as we head into La Source, and Hugh Haycox has led the lead, has led the pack into La Source, and Theo Schroeder is just behind him, gaining 1 position at the start. Richard Varden is holding station in 4th place, and Marcus Solholm in 5th, as they go through over Radion for the first time and up the Kemmel Straight. It'll be interesting to see what the slipstream battle of these guys is throughout the race. The slipstream effect on these high downforce cars is quite large, as Marcus Solholm looks up the inside of Vardeners there, gets the position, making most of his cold tyre knowledge there, as it's Aquiver 1, 2, 3, 4 now. But it looks like Haycox isn't going to be let go anytime soon by the rest of the pack, as we now look back at the GT field.
Now we're on board with Nick Carroll and the Aquiver Motorsports Green M4. He's having a little bit of a battle with one of his teammates there in the Lamborghini. Very, very close racing. We're going to see him actually try and dive down the inside. He thinks about it, but he does come in short. He was a little bit faster running in there, but very good car placement from the M4 drivers. So that will be good to see where they end up in the end of the race.
As Weber's now taking a defensive line into Buon. He is defending from Jonas Beckman, who's managed to jump. Weber is currently sitting in 3rd place in AM, and Beckman has lost a position in Pro as well, but is actually up. Beckman's up 5 positions since the start of the race, it seems.
Yeah, Beckman's had a absolutely fantastic start. I think from looking back, I do believe he actually took a car going up Eau Rouge, which is a good job from him.
Oh, as Wagner has lock-up, gets all crossed up into La Source, and Solholm was up the inside there of Schroeder, so he's gained 2 places on the opening lap. Clearly didn't, with such a small field, he felt he didn't need to value qualifying as much, and the slipstream effect is now coming into fruition. As we look back at a replay of Christopher Gottfredson going very wide at Stavelot. No harm done, probably an off-track, but no further harm done, and no real time lost there as well, which is a good thing. On the subject of off-tracks, so every 12 instant points these drivers get, they will receive a drive-through, which is potentially a bit tight for Spa on an hour-long race, but that driver who manages to do the best in terms of pace and off-tracks will obviously head to the front of the field.
And yes, I was actually just about to mention that myself, but coming to talking about that, I think it's very good because it's also rewarding drivers with the idea of being safe on the track, and 2, also having seen the abilities of these drivers. It's also just trying to keep them in check as well, knowing that whatever time they can shave off, they'll do, especially around Spa. Yeah,
absolutely. As we now ride on board with Marcus Solholm, he is in the slipstream well and truly there of Life Weichel. A little lift through Blanchemont as the aero comes off the down front of the car, braking hard into the bus stop now. Right and then left, getting the power down as soon as he can and as smoothly as he can as they come across the line. He's certainly not going to be letting them get away, as he does a 2:03.5 across the line at 0.3 quicker than Vigel that last lap. Potentially showing us how much effect the slipstream has. Now this brilliant view on board with Weber as he's now chasing down pro driver Hendrik Lichtenhagen. So there's a big lift there through Blanchimont for our GT category as we switch to curb cam, listening to those wonderful V12s of the Audis and Lamborghinis as they power past. As Solholm in our replays has made a move on Weichel and has got past him into up the Kemmel Straight and into into the braking area of Lecombe. Excellent move there for him.
Some very respective driving there. You give him plenty of room to get by, obviously knowing that he is the faster driver. But obviously I can see there being some good racing going to ensue in the later on laps of this race.
Yes, absolutely. Be interested to see whether these drivers tucked in behind other ones will be saving a little bit of fuel. As we've had a change of position there, Gottfridson's being passed by Adam J. Pierce. Pierce is currently our last placed pro driver, but being kept honest there by Gottfridsson, absolutely, as the Ferrari then pulls out of the slipstream. Pierce has made him go to the outside of the braking area, as it is a drag race to the braking area, and Pierce is still up the inside. Side by side they go through Lecombe, plenty of overlap there, and plenty of space given as well. Pierce as Gottfridsson's, I'm going to say, taking him around the outside. That's a fantastic manoeuvre. Yeah,
that's, it's a very dangerous move, but he managed to keep it very well planted on the track. I think that Ferrari has some pretty decent downforce on it, as we know most GT cutters do. But that wider wheelbase on that Ferrari, I think, really helps it, especially in a situation on the outside, probably getting some dirty air on aero wash from the cars in front, and really managed to hold that there. So good driving from him.
Yes, as we now look at the Aquiver Motorsports Lamborghini 155 car of Hendrik Lichtenhagen. He is currently 4.4 of a second behind Nick Carroll. So Lichtenhagen is third in Pro, but sitting behind Nick Carroll, who is second in his BMW. As it looks like Weber's going to be attacking Lichtenhagen, closing up under the slipstream. Surely he's not going to send it a bunch more. He doesn't, thank goodness. Oh, as Lichtenhagen takes... Oh no, and avoiding action there had to be taken by Weber. And Lichtenhagen has spun all by himself under the pressure of Weber. And unfortunately, Weber there's paid a heavy, heavy price. Lichtenhagen, sideways there. Weber had nowhere else to go. He avoided the car, but couldn't avoid the wall. That's it. This beautiful pink Audi, chrome Audi, is hitting the bullet. As Lichtenhagen gets away with it. And, oh no, Weber, it's a sight you hate to see, is crawling back to the pit lane, and I'm afraid in an hour-long race, or with 52 minutes left, I think that's going to be curtains for Weber there, unfortunately.
After them doing really well in the 6-hour race at the weekend, it's quite a shame to see Daniel Weber coming off the track there, especially when it looked very much like it could have been avoided, even if that did actually seem a little bit of netcode there, the clipped in the car. But he did do very well to avoid.
Yeah, he did well to avoid the car. I think Lichtenhagen lost the rear end because he was under so much pressure from Weber behind him. I don't know if any contact was made there. I'm sure we'll find out in the post-race interviews or chats. Go on, but yeah, that's unfortunate for some of our. Well, that was third place in Pro and second place in Am to be out so early, as Lichtenhagen has also returned to the pit lane.
On board now with Davy van Abiel and the red and black Audi, the VDA racing cars, managing to keep up with pro driver Adam J. Pierce in front, who is still chasing down Christopher Gottfridsson, who we saw have a fantastic move coming off the Kemmel Straight and then around the outside there into
the com. Yeah, absolutely correct there, Andrew.
Sorry about that. I had to check my notes there because I need to make sure I got making sure I'm getting everything right.
Yeah, so Pierce is now climbing all over the back of Gottfriedson into the bus stop. Abele behind in his Audi seems to be keeping a bit of a watching brief, and maybe what happened to Lichtenhagen will happen to Gottfriedson, and then Abele will be able to just drive past the two of them. So that's maybe what he's hoping for in these early stages, as we've just crossed the 10-minute mark. So 50 minutes left, and still our mandatory pit stop cycle tonight. As we now look at Silas Niklaisen heading up the Kemmel Straight in his BMW M4. He has inherited 3rd place in our AM category. So that is your AM category 3rd place, and behind him in the bright yellow Cabot Lamborghini is 4th place. So Jonathan Keane is keeping Niklaisen honest there. Less than half a second, or you can see how small that gap is, and it's good to see the AM category drivers also chasing down those 3rd, 4th and 5th train of our pro class as well.
Definitely, and I think that also shows just that the pure amount of practice as well that some of these AM drivers and some of these pro drivers are putting into these cars around these tracks before they race, and I think it's well deserved, any position that these guys gain, especially around Spa, as we know is just notoriously difficult. It's one of the hardest tracks to learn in any racing game, for that matter.
Yeah, absolutely. The number of corners and the complexity of the corners as well is quite high here at Spa, and yeah, you do get a bit of divergence of lap times, but it's hugely rewarding when you get it correct. Or even as good as you can, and our AM drivers are going to be picking up places as potentially other pro drivers are pushing it a little bit harder, a little bit more desperate for a pro win, and falling by the wayside, as perhaps we saw with Lichtenhagen.
Adam J. Pierce is going into a move into the bus stop. He does fake out, but he actually takes out Christopher Godfreyson, but does he manage to make it back on the track? He does. I don't know how the stewards will view that one, but Christopher Godfreyson did actually manage to make it out okay.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see an onboard from Pierce's car, because I wonder if Gottfriedson actually inflicted that upon himself as a result of potentially closing down the area that Pierce could brake in. Yeah, I think there he's done it all himself.
Across, yeah.
He's paid the price. Oh, he managed to get away with it, which is highly fortunate. But thank you very much there for Isaac for that replay. But yeah, Gottfriedson will have had to serve the slowdown of going through the through the bus stop, a bit of a shorter route than usual, but no harm, no foul, really. I mean, unless his off tracks are huge, but I don't think they should be at this stage.
Nick Carroll's actually driving a really, really commanding race, sitting in the 3rd position, 4th position overall, but 2nd in class, which is very well done from him in the Aquiver Motorsports M4.
As we now ride on board with Wagner's, he's taken a spin at Malmedy, and it's going to have a bit of rear wing damage, I think, there. Yeah, a bit too enthusiastic on the throttle there, and unfortunately the iRacing gravel didn't catch him before he hit the barrier. No visible damage there, but he has made a pit stop, so as we now look back on board with him, looking at him again, the McLaren livery Dallara is looking good, and we now see Marcus Solholm and the rest of the LMP2 category starting to make their way through our GT field. There is Pierce and Gottfriedson. Which way is he going to go? They get out the way. Pierce gets out the way for him as Gottfriedson Sohan manages to use the downforce of the P2 car to stay to the inside. As Gottfriedson spun in the background. Fortunate, but he would have lost a lot of time doing that. And is now sitting in 6th place in the AM category. As Weichel's
I
now...
wonder if that was from
Sorry,
avoiding the P2 cars, do you think? Maybe he just took a little bit of a wider line and caught the dirty part of the track. I'm not too sure if he's managed that or not, but it could have just been a bit more of an aggressive tug to the right and he's just spun it. But I'm not too sure what's actually happened there.
Yeah, I think you could absolutely right there, as there's a big traffic jam at the top of the common through Malmedy, managing to free itself on the way down to Brussels. We're on board with Weichel, and Solholm is the car ahead, and you can just see around the corner is Haycox. So this is one of the fantastic things about multi-class racing that I know you and I love about it. It's just the extra challenge that you get from inherent differences in classes of car and the extra challenges that they bring.
It definitely brings something different to a single class race like Formula 1 and Formula 2. Even though we do see a fair amount of action on the track there, I do think endurance racing and multi-class racing just brings something else to the table that you don't see anywhere else.
No, you're absolutely right there. As Weichel still on the back of Solholm, not managing to make a move on Solholm there, but still closing up greatly as he manages to scythe his way through traffic that little bit better than Solholm, and now he's tucked right back under the rear wing and got a better run through Blanchimont as a result of Solholm having to take the avoiding action of Jamie Daniels in that leading AM car. As they accelerate across the line to complete their 7th lap onto lap 8 now. Sorry, lap 9. Do apologise. If we stick with this for a little bit longer, I think we might see Weichel make a move at the top of Le Combe. Sorry, at the top of the Kemmel Straight into Le Combe. Thundering down the hill there towards Eau Rouge. Over the little river that is Eau Rouge. And over the top of Radion. Smoothly done. It's currently 0.4 of a second back and closing all of the time. Will he get him by the time he pulls out of the slipstream looking for it? But I think he's a little bit far back at the moment this time round. He'll be hoping for a good rest of the lap and then make a move exactly there next time by. As this is
a little bit wide for No Name. Managed to hold it in though.
Yeah, as I hear somebody with screeching tyres in the background. I think this might be Yelta Korsman. So he was our pro pole sitter, has lost it into Puon, and the car snapped back on him and into the barriers. Oh, sideways. That's going to be some heavy damage you can see on the side there. He's lost the rear engine cover, and he's managed to get damage on both sides of that Lamborghini Huracan. So not quite sure if there was already some preceding damage, but nonetheless it was quite a heavy hit there.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's actually got steering damage. He's actually, I feel like he's trying to shake the car around some of the corners just to try and keep it in a straight line. Be interesting to see if he actually comes in at the end of this lap and get a pit stop.
He is going a little bit slower than I would have expected, perhaps. Through there, yeah, you can see that
holding it.
You can see that he's having to steer left to go in a straight line. So yes, he is retiring into the pit lane, unfortunately.
Say it's Jeb Shook there. He's actually going to the pit lane as well. So whether he's going to be, has he got some damage?
I'm not entirely sure. How far? We're only 20 minutes into the race, so I wouldn't have expected these drivers to be able to go from here to the end if they did a small fill at the start of the race and then do a big fill now, or even just a little top up to get to the end.
Drive-through.
Have a look at how
many. Get a drive-through?
It is entirely possible. He's stopped on the road, so therefore. I've got him down as 0 off tracks, so not entirely sure what's happened there. But I'm sure it will come out in the wash towards the end of the race. As Jonathan Keane is still right on the back of Silas Niklaisen through Malmedy. There's this big smoke ahead, and there's a Aquiver Motorsports green car off to the back. That's Nick Carroll. So he was doing rather well in our AM category, I believe.
Yeah, he was up in about 2nd position in the AM category, so it'll be interesting to see if he's actually... Well, he didn't hit the barrier. Very lucky from him there.
Yeah, this is certainly turning into a race of attrition within our first 20 minutes. I think we've had the adrenaline of the first 5 or 10, 15 minutes wear off a little bit, and you would have hoped that these guys would have settled down into a bit of a rhythm, but clearly first race nerves are getting to them, and Keane is putting a lot of pressure on Niklaisen now, closing up to a couple of tenths behind.
He is just all over the back of that M4. Very good racing we're seeing here. He's really trying to keep in the slipstream as much as possible he can, you know. It's something, you know, you need to do in these GT3 cars, as they are all just generally quite close to each other when it comes to performance.
Yes, absolutely right there. As this is now the battle for 2nd and 3rd in our AM category. Jamie Daniels is a fair way up the field, but and then sitting 2nd overall behind John Derrick, our pro leader. So first in each class is out the front at the moment, as Leif Weichel has managed to get past Solholm recently. Change of position.
I do believe that Christopher Gottfredson is actually in the pits at this moment in time, so he's gone in for a bit of a repair, it seems.
Yeah, I think that might be as a result of his contact with the wall at the exit of after he lost it at Blanchimont when the P2 field came through. So unfortunate to see. We'll hopefully see him back on track soon.
And the great thing is, if you finish the race, even if you do finish last in these classes, you'll still manage to get points, as the scoring system is very generous, as it goes up to the top 15 drivers of each category. So it's very good to see that all the drivers will actually manage to score some sort of points, whether they manage to finish the race.
Yes, and in a 9-round championship that we have here with in the Aquiver eSports Championship, every point does count, as in any other racing series. It's riding on board with Solholm, heading to the source. Still very close, these top 3 LMP2 cars. Only 2 seconds covering the top 3 here. And Schroeder a few seconds further back. So he's riding out on the top of 5th gear, I believe that was, through Radion.
Oh, he's got such a good run.
It's a fantastic run as he pulls out halfway up the Camel Straight and pulls back in before the end of the straight for the braking zone. Brilliant manoeuvre there. I feel as if these guys are going to be having a race-long battle at this rate. It's certainly proving out that way to be more than a third of the way through.
I would agree with you there, Martin. I think these guys are really close when it comes to the skill level in this car. That it's kind of very difficult to pry them apart, as is seen there.
Yes, and hopefully Schroeder will be able to catch them in the next little while, and then we maybe get a 3-way battle. Schroeder still doing respectable lap times and staying a few seconds away from that battle for 2nd place. So we now head back to Jonathan Keane, still tucked up behind Niklaisen, ahead of him in the big BMW. You'd hope that the Lamborghini with a lower frontal area would be able to drag up quite a lot behind it, and in that big slipstream of the BMW. And they're all following around Jonas Molinas on his white Audi for IDE.
That's because Christopher Gottfredson is still actually in the pits. So whether he's actually just going to repair the car and come out and finish the race so he gets the points, or if he's thinking about retiring the car or not, I would assume he would be wanting to come out and try and finish the race, just to bank those few extra points. But we'll see where he actually ends out.
Yeah, I think any chances of a decent result today are gone for Gottfredson, but I'd imagine if he is able to get any more laps in and manage to cross the line, then he will. But I think for the moment we're going to have to keep a watching brief on that on the timing screens, as Keane's still hounding the back of Niklaisen in the BMW. Through Campus and on to Stavolo. These guys have settled into a bit of a steady state, I suppose, as my timing screen says that John Derrick, our pro leader, has just entered and left the pit lane, so maybe that was a mistake on my timing screen, as it looks like he's still out on track as far as I can tell.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I do not. I would assume that he didn't go into the pits.
Keane's gone into the pits. Keane has definitely
Keane's
gone into
diving
the pits.
Well, to be honest, it is at that near enough that half an hour mark, so he might be trying to get a head start on the pit stop runners and see if he can get some fresh rubber on his tires to get out again. And I think another driver has went into the pits as well, have they? Saw a car taking it wide. No, it wasn't. I would assume that's just almost a back marker.
Yeah, so Keane's taken the option of the undercut. I think he felt that he was being held up by Melinas and Niklaisen ahead of him. So he's decided to call it quits at that point and do his little bit of top up of fuel. I don't think any of these guys will be changing tyres today, considering that the track temperatures are reasonably low. As Haycox is into the pits now on replay, so that's a lot earlier than we were expecting. He must also be back timing it like Keane is. So that leaves Marcus Solholm at the front of the field. A last to first challenge is going well for Solholm at the moment.
Yeah, he's definitely almost making a meme out of the other drivers, I think, as well as that he is just got that extra bit of experience being a higher I rating as well. So I think he realised that he would get a better race if he didn't qualify well, and decided to make more of a race for himself to have a bit of fun on this Monday night.
As Niklaisen has now got Nick Carroll all over the back of him. The Aquiver Motorsports green car is doing a very good job after his spin at Malmedy. He's managed to pull it back. So this is a battle for podium positions. Second is Niklaisen in the BMW bank car, and in the Aquiver Motorsports car we have Nick Carroll. Carroll's got a big slipstream on going there and pulls out of the slipstream there into the braking area, decides against it this time round. The ABS on both of these cars working very hard, as is the traction control out of a slow corner like the bus stop. See if he can do anything, get a better exit out of the source, and that really determines how good your opportunity to overtake is at the top of Le Combe. Might have opened up there, but we'll see what the BMW and BMW slipstream is like. I go down my timing screen. Hugh Haycox was stationary for 20.5 seconds, as Solholm and Weichel are now in the pit lane from the LMP2 lead. Let's see how easily Haycox can keep his overall lead.
And that's him just going to be coming up to bus stop now.
Oh, and he's taken a lot of curb there. Clearly pushing hard to see if he can keep his lead. Theo Schroeder's stayed out, not made his pit stop, as Solholm now leaves his pit stall. It is a shorter pit exit for Solholm. Be interested to see if he comes out right of shot. And I think the speed that Haycox will have carried out of the source will probably have extended his lead a small amount, but nonetheless, as Nick Carroll is still looking for a way past Nucleisen, giving each other plenty of space, which is what we like to see, especially in a 9-round league as we have with the Aquiver eSports Championship. You don't want to be generating too many enemies too early on. Wait until the championship is on the line and then give them a bit more stick, I guess. Race them a bit hard, but in the first championship round of any league, you'll be just eyeing up the competition to a certain extent. Still trying as hard, but nonetheless, there's no need to make any enemies at this point.
It's nice to see them not treating these GT3 cars like NASCARs and completely bum drafting these guys into the walls. But Nick Carroll diving into the pits now for his pit stop. He's realised he was probably getting held up there by Silas, and he's decided that he's going to just get his pit stop out of the way.
Yeah, and I think that was absolutely the right call there for him. Being probably about 10 or 15 minutes time as to whether that pays dividends. As Haycox is coming back through the GT3 field again, passing Pierce there. Sorry, not Pierce. Sorry, that's Weber, isn't it? My bad. Into the bus stop again. I'm getting mixed up with all the Cabot cars and all their shiny liveries and wheels.
I'm sure we can forgive you.
First round of the championship, we've got a bit of leniency here and there, but we're doing alright. As Theo Schroeder's also inheriting the lead as a result of the rest of his LMP2 category taking their mandatory pit stops. He'll be hoping to get through the GT3 field as quick as he can, so therefore he can get back on the back of Solholm. Bit of oversteer out of Bruxelles there and through No Name. As Jelta Korsman is sitting behind Davy van Aberbele. Aberbele has not taken his pit stop, and neither has Korsman, but we saw Korsman have an accident earlier at Pouhon. Although his car's looking a lot cleaner now, so maybe... Yes, sorry, he has taken the pit stop as a result of that. Korsman's definitely getting...
I was just making sure that we've not missed anything in the Discord to see if anything has been updated. Any of the drivers talking, but it seems that the Discord's quiet, so all good.
That's good, as Korsman's gone up the inside of Abila through Blanchimont. That's not a normal place to pass, I'd say, but he's made it work. And these are a pro and AM driver, so not necessarily going for the same championship. So good sportsmanship there to give each other enough space.
I do believe his name of his team, Rwanga Nation, is a play on words to the fantastic Formula 2 driver of Mahavir Raghunathan, or Ranganathan. I find out if that's actually the real reason their name's like that. But anyone that follows the Formula 1, Formula 2 leagues will know of Mahavir Raghunathan.
Absolutely, as we have Hugh Haycox is being closed down by Solholm there. It was about a second as they came out of the pits, or slightly over. And now we're looking at a gap of 0.3, and maybe Solholm's going to do the same move that he did on Weichel in the first half of the race. He pulls out, and easily done. I think these Aquiver Motorsports drivers probably race a lot together, I'd imagine, and therefore that is a change for the lead. Or the effective lead, should I say, as Schroeder still needs to make his pit stop.
it's quite interesting there. That could actually be a potential strategy by Hugh Haycox to let Marcus Soho by, just for the sake of him might being able to get the jump on him later on in the race. So he's just going to try and stay in his slipstream and keep up with him, I'm assuming. As Theo Schroeder, I do believe he needs to come in the next few laps to get to get fueled up and ready to finish the race. And he's actually about 33 seconds ahead of Marcus Soholm at this moment.
Yeah, absolutely right, as Nicolaisen is sitting in second place at the moment, but we're still waiting on when he will pit and how he will come out in relation to Nick Carroll, who climbed up to behind him very rapidly a few laps ago. So Carroll has dropped down to 6th in class. However, we'll see where he comes out as a result of his inherent pace advantage.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think Silas Nicholson he's shown very good skill for just an amateur driver in the league, and for him to be sitting second right now, just behind the third position in the pro, is very well done for him.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think that's one of the things I've certainly noticed in Pro-Am leagues that I've participated in previously is if you are able to keep a clean sheet, as it were, reduce those off tracks and those off and actual excursions onto grass, and minimize mistakes, then you can certainly come away with some good results, as your pro drivers are maybe a little bit more cocky and push the boundaries a little bit more. But doing a very good job there, and second in class currently for Nicolaisen.
That's actually Christopher Godfredson now actually fully retired the car after being in the pits for 7 laps. I'm assuming he was going to just retire the car anyway, and that's actually Nick Carroll retired his car as well, which is a shame. He was doing very well in that Aquiver Motorsports M4 GT3.
That's a shame to hear about Carroll there. Not quite sure what happened, but back to the action at the head of the effective lead in LMP2. So Haycox is the next lap round is still sitting behind Soholm. As I look at my timing screen, and Schroeder has just entered the pit lane. So this will be where it all comes crunch time. Hopefully, Soholm and Haycox will be hoping that they don't get caught up too much by traffic and can overtake Schroeder on the exit. But these guys are battling hammer and tongs at the moment, side by side through Ponchlet they go. Very nicely done. The downforce saving both cars there, I feel, as Haycox may be looking to the inside. Decides against it this time. I think he got his run on Soholm a bit too early almost, and therefore couldn't make the most of it. But that's promising signs for Haycox, who led the first half of the race. As Schroeder, they are just passed in the pit, so you can see him in the background. Haycox trying to get the power down nice and early out of La Source, powering down the old start finish straight through Eau Rouge. Be hoping to be in that slipstream nice and tight. Quarter of a second gap is absolutely minimal. I think he's going to do what Solholm did to him. Pulls out very late. Kind of been a lot of gap there, not allowing much room for netcode, but then easily down the inside on the brakes. So he's now back in the overall lead. No pit stops needing to be taken now, as this will be a fantastic battle to the end, I feel. As they come, I'm going to
actually talk about Theo Schroeder quickly. I'm just assuming his strategy to pit later than the other cars has worked in his favor. He was actually running a little bit farther behind, but I do believe I think he's just a little bit more off the pace than the other guys, and he decided that pitting later would be a better idea. So one, he's not clashing with their pit stops, and also to see if he can get a little bit of a boost by getting out and just continuing on with some a lighter fuel load, see if he can get a few fast laps in. But I do believe he is he's about 9 seconds behind Leafy Weichel, so we'll see if he manages to catch before the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely. As Haycox and Solholm have managed to navigate their way through that GT3 category, and you can see Vichel just in the background there, another 3 seconds back, or 2.5 seconds back from Solholm, so 3 seconds back from our overall leader of Hugh Haycox. Frenchman doing a very good job there, accelerating out of the bus stop and across the line to start lap 20.
And then talking about that, that is us now only got just under 20 minutes of racing to go. So a lot of the drivers now will be looking to get into a position where they can slipstream and get past a few of the cars they want to get into position with. But we'll see how that plays out, especially for the GT category.
Yep, as Solholm, you are correct. He's right underneath the rear wing of Haycox again. I think he's decided his run was a bit too late that time, so backed off a little bit. I think these guys might also be looking at their fuel numbers and trying to calculate as to whether they're going to be short or not on the fuel. So any little bit of fuel saving they might need to make, they want to do as early as possible, so then give themselves full power for maximum attack when the car's nice and light at the end. As Yelta Korsman goes down the inside of Nick Lyson. So that is a pass in GT, but not for class positions. But it does put Korsman right on the back of Juan Melanas ahead of him. So Melanas is third, I think, in our GT Pro category. They go side by side, and he's got him in the inside of Bruxelles. Exit of there and through No Name. That is, wow, 2 places in a very short sequence of corners. So that puts
I would say they're
Korsman onto the GT Pro podium and 4th overall in GT category. But Jamie Daniels is holding on to the lead there.
Just going back, I do believe it was Yelta Korsman was the one that that went off at about 20 minutes, just before 20 minutes. Going round Pouon was, am I correct?
Yes,
he
you're
slid into the
absolutely
barrier there. So he's had a fantastic comeback there after going in for a quick repair.
Yeah, I think he decided to take his pit stop early. It was quite early, if you are correct. If it was at 20 minutes, then I think he's going to be a bit tight on fuel. It might have 5 minutes spare of fuel, and I suspect that these guys do have a fast repair because there's no visible damage left on his car.
I will actually go and have a look at that because I do believe I read something about that in the rules.
There was an error. There was an error in the server setting up, so all the drivers were given 255 fast repairs, which they're allowed to use for this race. However, they won't be in effect for the future races.
Thank you very much, Isaac. So there'll be no fast repairs for the future races, then, you're saying?
No, none. No.
Okay.
Just this one race.
Good to know, and that fully explains why Korsman's V10 Lamborghini Huracan is looking right as rain, brand spanking new out of the factory again. As Haycox and Solholm come up. Sorry, that means that Solholm has got ahead. He's got the 2 lights ahead, but he is actually ahead of Haycox again. I can only imagine that happened at the top of the Kemmel Straight as they go past John Derrick, our GT Pro leader, and clearly making most of being the only McLaren in the field today. Oh, here we go, the replay. Pulls out. Relatively straightforward overtake, plenty of space given and taken between these 2 cars. Oh, as there's a big slide for Solholm on the exit of Lecombe.
Talking about that, I think these drivers are just enjoying driving with each other, which is really nice to see. As Hugh Haycox was thinking about taking a move in the bus stop there, but thought better of it. He now has actually a better run, I would assume, coming on the start-finish straight. We've actually seen a car going into the pits. That's John Derrick has just gone into the pits now.
So he's managed to make use of his whole fuel tank there, pitting pretty much on the 45-minute mark or the 44-minute mark as we predicted initially. The laps making sure that he could get a maximum all of that big tank down to 0. So he'll be hoping to make the most of that as he comes out of the pits in the next little while. As Jamie Daniels behind him, our AM leader, has also gone into the pits.
And Hugh Haycock's actually, we're just watching there, he's actually dove past Marcus Solholm down the Kemmel Straight, and it's quite interesting to watch as these two drivers are kind of just battling it out, having a bit of fun on track. It's really entertaining to watch.
Yeah, absolutely right. Sorry, I missed that. There he goes down the inside. As we now look at a replay of Daniel Weber coming into Piff Paff. He's ran a bit wide there. Nothing too amiss so far. And out the other side he goes, as we now watch our leaders through Piff Paff as well. If these guys are going to pass each other every single lap, then you certainly don't want to be leading on the last lap like an IndyCar race or some NASCAR races. Slipstream effect is so large here at Spa in these cars. I wonder if we could try a little countdown of how many laps there might be, and therefore who potentially predict who's going to win the race, but that might also spoil the fun.
I'd assume there's about 14 minutes left of racing. So I would say just under 7 laps, so probably about 5 to 6 laps now when it comes down to racing laps.
Yes, you will actually be correct there, I think. So as we look at Davy Van Den Abela, he's had a pretty quiet race, but is currently sitting in 5th place in our AM category. He has made his pit stop, as all but one of the cars ahead of him have, so maybe there's another place for him to gain, and Daniel Weber ahead of him on track is a battle for position. So hopefully he can make hay whilst the sun shines, or the sun sets, I think, as it does here now at Spa. So and gain another position. It's not a bad showing for a relatively quiet race, and sitting in the top 5 now, as Haycox has managed to hold on to the lead this time round up the Kemmel Straight. So fantastic move there. Maybe that breaks the pattern that we saw in the last couple of laps.
I'm talking about nighttime sequence here. Spa's quite a nice one to watch, as you see that sun setting in the distance there. When it comes to the nighttime racing, it can be extremely difficult, as we see there is no spotlighting on the track, so it's down to watching out in your mirrors and looking in front of you with your headlights as much as you possibly can. It's very similar to Bathurst as well, as Bathurst is just completely notorious for being difficult to see in cars, especially as they're coming around those tight corners.
Yeah, absolutely correct there, Andrew. Looking at the timer screen, looks like Hugh Haycock set the fastest lap of the race on the last lap with 2:02.37, so he's getting down towards the qualifying times that were being set in his field as the fuel wears off. Marcus
Solholm is looking to dive down the inside. He knows last minute there that he's not going to make it, so he dives in again in that slipstream. It's a little bit of a lock-up as he's going around there through bus stop, but he's managed to stick with it. Hugh Haycox is just managing to hold him off, as there's about 0.4 of a second into it.
Yeah, as those guys on the last lap, well, the top 3 of our LMP2 category set pretty much identical lap times: a 2:03.13, a 2:03.15, and a 2:03.10. So nothing to split these guys at the moment. Unfortunately, Weichel is a little bit further behind, but as we ride on board with Solholm, he pulls out of the slipstream, and I think Haycox lets him go a little bit earlier there than on previous laps. And as nice, Solholm still getting a big tank slapper coming out of Le Com as he heads towards Malmedy. Hanging on to it very well, however, with his 6,000 I rating, you'd pretty much expect nothing less, I guess, at that rate.
We actually see John Derrick is actually leading again after going into the pits. He obviously had a very comfortable position on the other cars in front, behind him, that he knew when he took his pit stop that he didn't have to do much work.
Yep, as we now have Keane in the bright green, yellow, whatever you want to call it, Cabot Lamborghini tucked up behind another Lamborghini of Jonas Beckman.
I believe the kids of these days would call that highlighter yellow. As they would say.
I stand
bright
corrected
neon
then, thank you very
highlighter.
much, Andrew. I'm not the youngest in our crew this evening, as a replay of Haycock's going down the inside of Solholm into Piff Paff, getting caught up behind Abela, I believe that was, in his Audi R8. That's a very good move. So he's taking it back, but as they head out of La Source in a little while and then down towards Origin up through Radion and the Camel Straight, will the positions change again? There's a half a second gap at the line.
Less than 10 minutes left of racing now, so positions now, they'll be looking to gain that, at least that one more position on their opposition, whether it is in the GT class or the LMP class here in Spa.
As Solholm, they've had to navigate the GT car. As Solholm is right back onto the tail of him. I wonder if now we're less than 10 minutes, they're going to be defending a little bit harder than what we've seen previously, but I think Solholm must have had to back off a little bit as well, as he wasn't unable to carry his huge run up the Camel Straight.
It did look, he nearly rammed the back of Hugh Haycock there as he was coming up past Radion, trying to avoid that M4. But well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't mean much because he's back on his tailpipes again, so we'll see how that actually runs down till the end of the race.
Yeah, so that was a potentially scary moment for our P2 leaders, as the BMW sat in the middle of the road there, and Haycox and Solholm were not sure which way to overtake that car into No Name, but managing to get it on the exit through Piff Paff, and there were a couple of cars ahead. I think that's Keane and Beckman in their Lamborghinis. So let's see how these guys, see if these guys play into this battle for our LMP2 lead. That was Stavlo there, and up towards Blanchimont, I think, staying well over to the left-hand side. That's good multi-class driving right there. But then again, this next car, I believe that's Jamie Daniels, our AM leader. Okay, so the Omega Racing car was saved, a dive bomb of Team Aquiver that time round, but I'm sure they'll get him out of the bus stop. Very well, nicely done. And this is allowing Vichel in the background to catch up a little bit. Last lap they were running high 204s, our leading pair, whereas Vichel managed to close in a whole second there, so reducing his gap by a third. And that only needs to happen for a couple more laps, and it would have a three-way battle for our LMP2 overall lead.
Oh, fantastic run through Radion now from Marcus Solholm. He's just sticking in that slipstream. There's nothing that Hugh Haycox can do in holding position. He's moving a little bit to try and fake him out of actually taking that inside line through that corner, which I think Marcus is being very patient. He's waiting for that last lap strike. He knows when he wants it.
Yep, as this is a replay of Keane getting past Jonas Beckman. So Daniels, then Keane and Nicolaisen in our AM category, and Beckman is still there for third place in Pro. Derek Korsman and Beckman, our GT3 Pro podium as it stands.
John Derrick is just leading this race by miles. 9-second gap on Korsman at this moment, and I mean, Jonas Beckman obviously being behind the two amateur drivers. It's very obvious that unless John Derrick is going to make a mistake now in these last 6 minutes of the race, he's going to take the victory in the GT3 Pro class.
Yeah, fantastic opening race so far for John Derrick in his McLaren, and I wonder if that will force a couple of other drivers to switch to the McLaren perhaps after they see the paces. Haycox runs wide there at the first part of the bus stop, outbraking himself, allowing Solholm right back onto the tail of him. And if these guys keep battling and losing a bit of time, then maybe Vichel in the background will be able to close up a little bit more. Gap that time back to Vichel has stayed at 2 seconds. But nonetheless, these guys are not impervious to a mistake or two, so still hope yet for Vichel. And if he gets inside a second, then I would have thought he'd be able to get a bit of the slipstreaming effect. As we now ride on Sarholm again, up the Camel Straight. He will pull out. Yep, yes he does. Vichel really not far back there.
However, that's a tactical move there from Solholm. It'll be nice to see if he manages to hold that position now for the last 5 minutes of this race. It's going to be very close between these two drivers, if we've seen throughout this race. So
yeah, absolutely, and I can only hope that there isn't any incident. There aren't any incidents between the two Team Aquiver drivers, because these are the main organisers of this series, and I would therefore assume main stewards as well. So all stewarding will be conducted post race. I couldn't imagine after this long the adrenaline must be high and the tensions must be quite tight. So any incident, if it were to happen, I wouldn't want to be in that room when it went off.
the Marcus Solholm still got that about 0.4 gap, 0.3 gap over Hugh Haycox, but that means nothing when they're going to come around here for one of the last times they're going to be here in this race towards the bus stop. They've got to navigate the Lamborghini, the red Lamborghini there, coming into the bus stop. Hugh Haycox was thinking about it, but that Lamborghini sitting on that side of the road definitely made him think otherwise.
Yep, as they come across the line now on their 28th lap. 3.5 minutes left, so I'm going to predict that there are 2 more laps left after this one.
Yep, I think you'd be very right in saying that, Martin.
So they'll get the white flag next time by. So this lap and 2 more. Does that mean, well, I'm going to say, does that mean that the positions will stay as they are? But it may or may not. Haycox is a little bit further back than he would like to be, as the lights are, the sunset is really kicking in now, and the lights of these P2 cars are showing up brighter and brighter against the track surface and each other, blinding Solholm ahead.
As you see, John Dennis, the GT Pro, they're actually in front now, so they've got to navigate him through there.
Oh, he's moved out the way very nicely. Sorry to cut over you there, Andrew, but that is very sportsmanlike. Realising that he does have a 10-second lead and nothing to lose there, assuming he does have no problems and will get back up to speed with no problems, with no issues.
In saying that as well, John Derrick, if I'm aware, he is also an Aquiver racing driver, so he obviously wants these guys to battle out to the end safely and securely. They're not going to ruin their chances of winning any sort of championship here.
Yeah, absolutely, and being the first, I believe this is the first championship that Aquiver Motorsports have organised, and we are very proud to be the first broadcasters there for them. And yeah, Derek, they're allowing these guys to battle it out to the end certainly provides us with a spectacle that we're more than happy to watch and pass comment on.
So we're going to see this lap now as they going to... I'm not seeing any white flag yet, so it will be this lap, and I'm assuming one more.
Potentially, iRacing is a little bit fickle at times with its prediction of the white flag, so we'll have to wait and see.
Ooh,
but
two different lines going through there.
Yeah, and Haycox kicks up a bit of dirt. Now we see the defending. Solholm is not happy to let him go anymore with just 1 minute left on the clock. Yeah, so he made Haycox not be any slipstream any longer and slowed the car down as a result. These guys going at it hammer and tongs as a result. of that, and ever since Solholm has made his run from the back of the LMP2 field, it has been a ding-dong battle as more dirt gets kicked up there by both of our leaders. Through Puon they go, and there's a lot of curb by Haycox there. He is really trying.
I would assume those drivers are dropping down a gear going into Puon. Would I be right in saying that?
Yeah, absolutely. There'll be 1 or 2 gears, as I think. Haycox has run a bit wide there, a bit of a slide there in the change of direction. These tyres may be getting a little bit old. Even though...
He's now actually just under a second now away from Marcus Solholm. So whatever chances are left is going to be down to the line here.
Yeah, absolutely. As we go back to Solholm, and 0.6 of a second gap he has currently. I think it might be enough if this is indeed the last lap. Yes, it is.
Yep.
Coming up to the checkered flag. Oh, last gas manoeuvre. Haycox up the inside, and it's a
that
drag race to the line.
inside.
Who's going to win it?
And Marcus Solholm is just taking it. It looks like, yes, and Marcus Solholm just taking the win there. It's Hugh Haycock running in second, and Leif Weichel coming in third. He was actually chasing them down in a 2:02.756 there at the end.
That was
Actually,
incredible run to the line, as we now switch back to Jamie Daniels, who's been overtaken by Jonathan Keane. Where did that occur? So Keane is now our AM leader, and a very good job he's managed to do to bring it back. Got the better run over the top
as well.
Got the better run over the top of Radion, and through Lecom they went. And deal done through Lecom. Very nicely done. And
that's the second time he's done that move today, if I'm right in saying that.
As we go back live as they come into the bus stop, Jamie Daniels of Omega Racing, after leading with the majority of the race, is going to have to settle for second place behind Jonathan Keane of Cabot Motorsport. The Cabot team, I will be very pleased with that. Omega are a little bit gutted, but not a problem, as Nick Lysons now comes through the bus stop for the final time and into third place of our AM GT category. He's done a very good job. We thought that Nick Carroll was going to overtake him on the pit stop cycle, but Carroll coming into some other problems. I think we're going to have to get, when we do our interviews, we're going to have to get our 2 winners of LMP2, well, effectively 2 winners, the gap was so small at the line, in together and let them have a good discussion. But Weber now crossing the line in 5th place for Cabot Motorsport in AM category. Adam J. Pearce, just at the bottom of your shot there, took 5th place in Pro, so that is a win in AM and a 5th place in AM, as well as a 5th place in Pro for Cabot.
It's very well done from all those drivers. I think it's been absolutely magnificent racing today. As we see the actual results of the race there, literally nothing in it.
I believe you might have qualifying results up there.
Yeah,
that's 2019, and we did an hour-long race. Thank you very much, sir. So Marcus Solholm took the inaugural win of the Aquiver eSports Championship here at Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps, with holding off a last gas manoeuvre from Hugh Haycox, managing to take the win by 0.037 of a second. Their battling towards the end of the race allowed Leif Weichel to catch them a little bit, bringing down his 3-second gap at the pit stops to 1.7 at the line. And Theo Schroeder put in a decent effort against stiff competition to finish within 20 seconds of our LMP2 winner, Solholm. Unfortunately, Richard Wardner's was the cat amongst the pigeons, but unfortunately the pigeons won, finishing 23 seconds down. Sorry, not finishing, but 23 seconds off our winners.
So now looking at the pro, the pro of the GT side of things, in first place we're seeing John Derrick, who just had an absolutely fantastic run in the Aquiver Motorsports McLaren. In second, we have Jelte Korsman, who actually had a little bit of an off round Puon, but managed to come back and very well done from him. In third place, we have Jonas Beckman in the other Aquiver Motorsports car. Very well done from those drivers there. We also have Matthias Ebrook, the Canadian driver, done very well to hold off a few challenges from Adam Pearce in that race. And obviously, Adam Pearce having a little incident which made him have to finish about a lap down, about half a lap down on Matthias at the end. Juan Molinas, unfortunately, having to retire 8 laps before the end, and Hendrik Leitenhagen as well, having to retire as well in GT Pro.
And last but not least, our GT AM winners. So we had Jonathan Keane of Cabot Motorsport making a last lap overtake on Jamie Daniels, our long-time leader in his BMW. That gap at the line was less than a half a second there, so another close finish. Silas Nikolaisen in a privateer in his BMW M4 doing a sterling job, 14 seconds off the lead. Davy van Abela in the VDA Racing Audi R8, 27 seconds after a nice and quiet race, I think. Daniel Weber in his bright pink Cabot Motorsports Audi, 43 seconds off the lead. And then unfortunately a couple of non-finishers in Nick Carroll and Christopher Godfredson. Right then, I suppose it's time for some interviews. And we shall bring in our overall and very close winner in LMP2 first. We have Marcus Solholm, and I can't drag him into the commentary box. This is going to be a problem.
Yeah, we haven't been given permissions for that yet, so we'll just have to wait and hopefully they hear it on stream. So we can get in.
Right, I've just sent Marcus a message, so let's hope that he gets that shortly and we can drag them in after their fantastic battle. That was absolutely stunning.
It really was. It was really such a good...
Hello.
Hello, Marcus. How are you? Sweating
I'm
much?
Yeah, very sweaty because I used to play at home normally, but I'm at a school now, so there's no air conditioner or cooling of any sort. So, yeah, very sweaty.
Understandable. That looked like an absolutely fantastic battle to be a part of with your Hugh Haycox, your Aquiver Motorsports teammate. I'm assuming you guys usually race together, like in the same car in multi-class endurance events, multi-driver endurance events. Whereas,
Yeah.
what was it like to actually race each other and share the track at the same time?
It was actually really interesting because, as normally we don't do that. As you said, we normally race with each other, not against each other. But it was really interesting trying to race against each other because even though we race together, we don't actually know each other that well in terms of sprint races and stuff because we don't really race a lot together. But it was a really good, fun thing because, of course, the incident points are very limited here. So we just tried to stay out of contact, really, and it was good fun.
Very good.
Yeah.
And do you usually, I'm assuming also in your endurance events, you develop a setup for the car together, whereas today, or maybe from now on, you'll be developing setups separately, perhaps, after such a tight fight?
We'll see. I don't actually even know what setup he'll use, but we have permission to the same setup. So I used a custom-made setup from IMS a couple of weeks ago, and I found it nice, but I don't know if you use the same setup. So, yeah, good question.
Yeah, no, it was really, really fascinating battle, especially. One thing I would like to know was that a bit of a strategy from you to pretty much sandbag from qualifying to the race? Because we were all sitting there wondering why you decided to make yourself qualify last. Get a little comment from you on that one.
Yeah. So actually, when I qualified, I thought, since we were 5 people and I was very likely gonna qualify, maybe not in front of you, but close to him, and I thought starting from the back would be a bit more interesting for me, and I just set a lap time accordingly to that and found it fun through there.
Yeah, you definitely made it not only interesting for yourself, but for the audience. I would say that last lap fight and actually just all the way through that last kind of 20 minutes of the race, you guys were just on it on each other, and you could see the defensive stance. So definitely very well done to both of you drivers. It's good racing.
One short thing. It was really funny because on the last lap, I think through Fenya or something, Hugh got a little bit oversteer and almost had a second gap or something. But then I thought I had won it, and then I just, in the last second to last corner, I just had a huge oversteer moment, and I just went so wide, and then he just came alongside me, and I was like, oh no.
We saw that, and we were a little bit unsure because we saw him actually. He kicked the tail out of that LMP2 just a little too much, and we're like, oh, this actually might be it. This might be the end of Hugh's push, but you definitely made it last. It's that last little bit of second. I think it was 0.037 at the line, so it was worth it.
Oh yeah.
Alrighty, then
really
we'll
good.
let you go. Thank you very much for providing us a fantastically entertaining race. We might pull you back at the end of the stream to let our viewers know a little bit more about the Aquiver Motorsports and the championship, if that's all right. But we'll let you go for now, and we'll bring in John Derrick. So, Mr. Derrick, you are another Aquiver Motorsports driver, the only one in a McLaren in this series. You seem to have a pretty straightforward race. How was it from your point of view?
Yeah, obviously a bit of a shame what happened. Like, it's the worst way to win a race, really, when someone just like who has better pace than you just spins and loses it, and loses time. But in terms of my strategy, like, it was just try and qualify up front, save fuel, and try and jump from in the pits. So it sort of worked like that, but a bit unfortunate how it ended. So
yeah, I think you definitely made it stick. So I wouldn't be too disheartened with your performance. I'll let Martin. He's got another question to ask.
Yeah, I'm just curious as to you are the only person with the McLaren on the grid. Do you choose it for the flames, or is there another attribute that you you choose it for?
A couple of my friends call it the marshmallow toaster. No, I picked it up like 2 seasons ago. I just it just works for me. It's a really fun car to drive. It's just sort of my main car to go to. So, just enjoy driving it. So that's my reasoning. Yeah.
Fair enough. And enjoyment is as good as a reason as any other. So that's fantastic. Looking forward to Watkins Glen next time out in a week's time.
Yeah, I mean, all the tracks on the calendar are pretty good. Looking forward to Motorsports particularly because I love that track. But the Glen should be good fun. The Mac is pretty good there as well. So yeah, should be good.
Fantastic. And we shall therefore, we'll catch you next week. Very well done today, taking maximum 25 points in a pro category.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Thanks, buddy. As
we now bring in Jonathan Keane, and last lap winner in GT Am. So for Cabot Motorsport in your Lamborghini, that was a fantastic move. What set it up for you there, Jonathan?
Well, I noticed that I was better during the through the middle sectors. My cornering speed's a lot better with this setup, running the medium downforce package. But on the straights, it was lacking a bit. Just noticed that that the guy in front of me last lap, he made a mistake going into the bus stop chicane, so that allowed me to get close enough to make the move going up into Radion and Kemmel Straight.
Very good, and you certainly made it stick. He forced you round the outside, as we now see on the stream, but you managed to make it stick. That's a fantastic manoeuvre.
Yeah, cheers.
And quite
got a question.
Oh, sorry, go on.
Sorry.
No.
I've just got a quick question before I let Martin finish it off. When you were driving, do you feel like when you're driving a luminescent car like that, that it gives you just a bit of an edge to be seen?
Yeah, it certainly helps with people like seeing us before we get there. Can't see.
Yeah, I mean, we were commenting in the commentary box that it definitely should have an advantage, especially in a multi-class race when you have so many cars that there's no excuse to not see you.
That was the idea behind the concept. We go for the highlighter so that no one can miss us.
Yeah.
Seems like a good strategy, and you managed to get past Jamie Daniels on the last lap of the Omega Racing team. So no, fantastically well done. You looking forward to the rest of the season? So next up we have Watkins Glen and then Mossport the week after.
Yeah, it's a good season, good calendar that we've got lined up. So hopefully I can do the same again.
Fantastic. All right, we'll let you go. Fantastic driving this evening, and well done for getting that the winner on the last lap. Those extra 5 points could come in handy towards the end of the championship. So, fantastic job. Well done.
Thanks very much, guys. See you later.
Cheers, then. Thank you, Jonathan.
Cheers, man. Good racing.
Right, well, we were hoping to get back our league organiser, Marcus Solholm, to say a few final words about the league and how you might be able to get involved, but as that is not the case, we'll do it ourselves. So this was round 1 of a 9-round league. We have circuits such as Watkins Glen, Mossport, or Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, however you want to name it. The brand new Hockenheim is round 4. My personal favourite, round 5, is Road America on the 19th of April. Sebring, Silverstone, Road Atlanta, and the finale will be at Daytona. If you want to get involved, then there is a Discord link in the description below. And thank you very much for tuning in on ISRC TV. We do a number of other broadcasts and leagues. There is also another Discord link below. Oh, Marcus joins us now. I guess you're pretty happy for how this race went. A few driver errors, but no big incidents that you're going to have to review as stewarding after the race.
No, not really, actually. It went relatively cleanly. Maybe it's because we didn't have that many drivers as well. Of course, it is race 1, season 1, so we have to start somewhere. But one of the goals for the future of this series will definitely be trying to get some more drivers in. Now we have one race that we can show off to people and maybe attract a bit more, which, yeah, it's definitely, I think we're aiming at. And of course, running the event better, because there was a little bit of confusion here. And we've already learned a lot from this one event, so it'll only be better going forwards.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear, and I'm sure that the ding-dong battle you put on with Hugh Haycox will draw some more drivers in, because, well, I'd want to be part of it if I wasn't broadcasting, if I'm honest. So, no, that looked like fantastic. Yeah, hugely entertaining. Right then.
I'm sorry,
Go on.
It's really messing up Discord right now. Just
I think Marcus is having connection problems to our voice channel. He's back in now.
Yeah, it's better now.
Right then. Anything else from yourself, Marcus? I've plugged the Discord link below, and yeah. So if people want to get on the grid, there are plenty more spaces, and you can be on TV as well.
Yeah, that as well. We also got some socials which you'll be able to find in the Discord, where we share race results, and something will probably be tomorrow, but still, yeah.
Alrighty then, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for watching. Myself, Martin Pearson, Andrew Gatton alongside me in the commentary box. We've had Isaac Barkley on cameras for ISRC TV, and of course Marcus Solholm for not only putting on the championship with his fellow organisers, but then also but giving us a fantastic race to broadcast. We shall catch you next week for another action-packed race at Watkins Glen.
See you then, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.